Sitting is the new smoking. It's one of the most famous headlines across the world. You've probably heard it dozens of times, either from your doctor, a fitness influencer, a podcast, or maybe someone at work stood up halfway through a meeting saying, "I'm not gonna sit anymore because sitting is the new smoking. That's not for me." It's become one of those phrases that everyone repeats, but rarely anyone questions. Because on the surface, it does sound logical. We spend more time sitting now than ever before. Driving, office, studying, Netflix, even relaxing, all of those activities, we're sitting. So maybe the quote is right. Maybe sitting is one of the biggest health problems of our generation. But then I stopped to think, smoking kills over 8 million people every single year. It causes cancer, lung disease, cardiovascular diseases. It's one of the deadliest habits known to medicine. So are we really saying that sitting and smoking belong in the same conversation? Because if that's true, every single one of us has a serious health problem. And if it isn't true, how did it become one of the most repeated health slogans across the world? That question genuinely bothered me because I've heard the quote a million times, however, I've not seen any proof yet. So I did what we always do on BodyTalk. I stripped away the headlines, I ignored the Instagram reels, and I went looking for the evidence. And what I found was completely unexpected. Now, before we dive into the research, I want you to answer one question. Imagine there's two people. One person who goes to the office, who sits for 7 to 8 hours every single day, but they go to the gym about 3 to 4 times every single week. They do recreational sport, they go for running. And on the other hand, the second person walks for majority of the day for their work. They hardly sit. However, they don't go to the gym, they don't do any sport, and they don't go for runs. Now, without overthinking it, I want you to think, who is the healthier person? Hold on to this thought because I think by the end of this video, your thinking about sitting will be very different. Sitting is the new smoking. So where did this phrase actually come from? And more importantly, is it backed up by science? Let's find out. Part 2. So where did this phrase actually come from? I'll be honest, I thought it came from a huge scientific research paper. You know, the kind of research paper that changed medicine, because that's how people talk about it. Sitting is the new smoking. It sounds like a scientific fact, but when I traced it back, I found something very interesting. The phrase was not born from a landmark research paper. It became famous after being used by Dr. James Levine, a researcher who spent years of their life studying sedentary behavior. And while the message is powerful, but I think along the way, people started taking it too literally, because saying sitting is the new smoking makes for an incredible headline, but headlines aren't always science. So I started looking into the actual research, and here's what surprised me. The evidence does show that sitting for long periods of time leads to poorer health outcomes. Things like higher risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and even earlier death. So maybe sitting is the new smoking. Well, I guess that's it then. Case closed. One word that keeps appearing in almost all research papers. That word is associated. Not caused by, but associated with. There is a big difference. Let me show you why. Imagine I told you that people who carry umbrellas are more likely to be seen outside when it's raining. Now, does carrying an umbrella cause the rain? Of course not. They're simply associated with each other. One does not cause the other. So umbrellas do not cause rain. The same idea applies here. Just because two things are linked doesn't mean one causes the other. Now, that doesn't mean sitting is harmless. It's far from it. But it does mean that the story is a lot more interesting than the headline makes it to be. Then I came across something that completely changed the way I looked at this. Researchers started asking, maybe it's not sitting that's the biggest problem. Maybe it's what sitting replaces. I want you to think about your own day. When you're sitting for hours, what are you not doing? You're not walking. You're not climbing stairs. You're not breaking up the long periods of inactivity. Now suddenly the conversation has shifted. The problem isn't the chair. It's everything that doesn't happen while we're sitting. And that led me to a concept that I have never heard about. It's something researchers call the active couch potato. And honestly, it's one of the most fascinating ideas of health sciences because it'll completely change the way you think about your body. Part 3. The problem was never really the chair, The problem is what the chair replaces: movement. Our bodies were designed to move. Our bodies were never designed to stay in one position all day. Not because sitting is somehow toxic, but because movement keeps your body healthy. And I actually think this is a more useful message for people, because if we tell people sitting is the new smoking, we're making them afraid of sitting. But if you tell people your body was made to move, now suddenly you've given them control and there's something that they can actually do. This also made me realize that health myths usually survive not because they're right or wrong, it's because they're an oversimplification of some issue. Take, for example, running destroys your knees, or there's one perfect posture, or sitting is the new smoking. They're catchy, they're memorable, but the human body is rarely that simple. And that's exactly why we have BodyTalk. Not to tell you what to believe, but to take common health advice, strip away the headlines, ignore the reels, and ask one simple question: what does the research say about it? If you enjoyed this video, I have another video regarding perfect posture. You can check it up here, because it turns out the story about posture is surprisingly similar, and I think it'll completely change the way you think about sitting. Until next time, stay curious, question what you've been told. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next Body Talk.